I'll be honest with you guys, Blake was never my favorite character. I mean, comparing him to the main cast like John, Serafina, or Arlo, which were characters I felt more invested in, Blake was a main enough character that his choices and arcs were important, but always kinda brushed aside compared to the main cast. However, after multiple rereads I've done for this series, Blake kinda became a really memorable character. Let's start at the beginning. Blake is the first sign that we get that the world of Unordinary is a bit more special than the world we live in. I'm not counting the prologue. We see how Blake is kind of more aggressive compared to John. Well, John at first. Blake is thrown through a wall because he broke a pen clip and then fires a massive blast in retaliation. How much money does this school have that the kids can just destroy it like this, by the way? Anyways, this is the first time that we get to see Wilson's Jack. And that's something I'm going to be referring to very often. Not talking about royalty in an Unordinary video is probably not possible. But in the world of Unordinary, the school follows a hierarchy, the king and the queen leading everyone. But alongside those two powerhouses, we have the Jack. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that the hierarchy is based on a deck of cards. Arlo's the king, Remy's the queen, Serafina is the school's ace. Which I'm not actually sure is a placement in the royalty, or just kind of a spot they created when Serafina left the royals. And then we have the Jack. The Jack position was always a bit weird, but according to Wikipedia, as early as the mid-16th century, the card known in England as the Knave, meaning a male servant of royalty. Although Jack was in common usage to designate the knave, the term became more entrenched when, in 1864, American card maker Samuel Hart published the deck using the J instead of KN to designate the lower-ranking court card. This is why Cecile, someone who is stronger than Blake, isn't the school's Jack. There can't be a female Jack. But something interesting is that it's a male servant of royalty. Since there's only one, they need to make sure it's the strongest and most loyal servant of all the school. And that's why I think they get Blake. Blake is a very much ride or die kind of character. He's loyal to the end. And we see this constantly. During the first turf war, Blake easily beats the other school's Jack. And when it comes to the queen, well, it's not so easy. Agwyn's queen wrecks Blake. However, Blake doesn't complain. He doesn't ask to be pulled back. He doesn't blame Arlo for not pulling him back earlier. He fights to the end, even if he's fighting a losing battle. Which is something I super respect about Blake. Blake is willing to fight to the bitter end if the royalty asked him to. Anyways, Blake appears in a lot of episodes. But those episodes aren't super important to Blake's character arc. Moments like him talking to Remy, the queen, and him engaging with Eisen is useful, but not super important. We do see some important, but smaller moments. Blake is really loyal, and we see this in action when Remy helps John. John at this moment is kind of, let's say, shaken up. Slapping Remy's hand away, and kinda, swearing at her. But of course, he realizes his mistake and goes to apologize. But Blake jumps the gun a bit and blasts towards John's head, only barely dodging. Blake is super pissed at John. He just slapped the hand of his close friend. Sure, it's a bit drastic, but that's just Blake showing his loyalty. Blake is showing a lot of loyalty towards his friend. But that is a little bit too much loyalty, but think of it from a royal stance. A Jack, like I said, is a knave, or like a soldier, a knight. And what's a knight's duty? To protect, especially when it comes to royalty, which I think is Blake's main character arc. He sees he has a duty to protect. That's why he feels especially aggressive towards John at this moment. Imagine as a knight, someone slapping your queen's hand after she tried to help them. Of course you would want to kill them. This is Blake's purpose. He wants to protect, both from the real and emotional threats. Blake always wants to help the people he considers close to him, which is why when Remy seems down, he goes to Eisen and takes them both to the movies, which is also why Blake helps Remy with Ember. He helps by putting up posters and helping Remy become a superhero. Remember, Blake and Eisen don't 100% agree with Remy on that. They don't think they should be researching Ember. They don't really think they should be doing anything with Ember. But Blake says, don't be dumb. It's dangerous. That's why we want you to stop. But if you're going to keep going, we're still here to help. We just want you to tell us what's going on. Otherwise, we don't know what to think. We're worried for you. Blake cares about his friends. Sure, you can point to him having a small crush on our queen, but that's what shows Blake's loyalty. When Remy wants to become a superhero, Eisen is clearly against it. But Blake shows him the light by saying, "What the hell do you think I've been doing all this time? It hasn't done anything but make her more desperate. Have you seen how focused she is on this? Do you really think that the two of us can get her to drop it just like that? Even Arlo couldn't do anything about it. If we keep at it, she's gonna get herself killed. The three of us have a way better chance of succeeding than her going at it alone. Come on, man. You in or not?" Convincing Eisen to join and eventually helping Remy by being like a supportive sniper, staying up on buildings and shooting beams to assist Remy. The next real moments is when he tries to become better friends with John. It's interesting that he's willing to forgive and forget after what happened with Remy, but he's willing to, asking to walk with him to school and even do some homework. But John bluntly rejects these offers. After this comes the Joker arc, where Joker starts beating everyone in the school, well, all the high tiers mainly, going from Eisen up. Alongside this, Remy has a lot of close calls as X-Ray, and this starts something that I really like about Blake. It's him losing confidence. Okay, well, when I say that a bit out loud, it sounds weird, but hear me out here. I like the arc and conflict he feels towards this. He goes to Arlo for some advice. Well, when you graduate, I'm next in line for king, right? How am I supposed to lead the whole school? What do I do if I can't handle it? I don't know. Lately, I just don't feel confident in my strength. The way I fight is so bland and obvious. My ability is nowhere near as flexible as yours or Remy's. Even Eisen can do so much more with his... And he's cut off by Arlo saying, "It's not like you lucked your way into becoming a royal. After I'm gone, you'll be the strongest male in the school. That makes you qualified. As long as you continue to grow your ability and remain on top, the others will naturally follow you. Don't overthink it." While Arlo is lying about being the strongest male in the school, he was right about them following Blake. Blake is a good leader. He's loyal, understanding what it means to be a royal. You see, I might have lied before. Jacks don't have to be male. In fact, Cecile could have been Wellston's Jack. Jacks are actually appointed. And Serafina was the one who actually did. Well, for starters, I'm the one who crowned him as Jack. Arlo would never choose Blake over a high tier like Cecile. Not with his philosophy. I overruled him. After ascending to Ace, Arlo and Remy argued for days on who should fill the position, and they still couldn't agree on anyone. So I stepped in and made a decision for them. I sincerely believed that Blake would be the better Jack. Cecile may be more powerful, but she's very secretive. She always seems to be hiding something from the rest of us, and that makes her difficult to trust. Blake, on the other hand, he's much more open and straightforward. I'd take that over strength any day. Blake was appointed Jack, not because he's the strongest, but because he's a good royal. He's open and straightforward, which, not only a good royal, but makes a good leader. Blake is a really interesting character because I feel like he's the most human. He's not the best person, morally or kindness-wise, but he really cares about the ties he does have. He goes down a path that I'm sure most of us have gone down. A path of self-doubt. A path where we feel like we don't deserve what we have. Where we don't think we're strong enough, or smart enough, fast enough, or good enough for what we're doing. I think that's super interesting that Blake goes down this. And I'm sure you know the rest of the story. Blake fights against John and loses, breaking not only his back, but his pride. He's the one who needs to protect, but he fails. He fails at protecting the school. He wants to protect Remy, but he fails at that too. Blake's failures are what I think make him the most human. The struggles that he faces, the battles that he loses, that's what makes him so interesting. We all lose battles, we all fail with struggles. We all think it's too much for us to handle, like Blake does. Comparing him to like John or Arlo, their issues and problems are much more mental, I guess. Comparing him to Blake, it's much more apparent that he's struggling with things. Well, I'm putting Blake into lawful neutral. He's someone who's willing to follow orders even if it means he might lose terribly. But he's gonna do that because he wants to fulfill his role as a protector, the role that he was assigned. Arlo may have wanted Cecile to be the Jack, but he's right that Blake didn't luck his way into the position. Blake might be a tad overaggressive and can be quite rude, but I think that helps him fulfill his duty even more as a protector. Anyways, it's the end of the video time. The last Friday is in 2 weeks, so I won't be doing a character chart video. I do have an idea on what I want to do, but I also want to hear from you. What should my last video be on? Tell me in the comments. And like always, thank you for watching.